Back at you one more again. Here we are checking in with another Triple D VJ, Mr. Hollywood himself. And of course, we are talking about going back to the beach April 6th at Revel Entertainment. And let's get to it right now. Jason, what is going on, my brother?
AV, it's been
Oh my God.
years. It feels like only yesterday, me and you were driving to Wendy's, getting a single burger, talking about CDs, giveaways at Wild. Now here we are, throwing it back to the heyday when music was actually good.
Right?
Social media didn't exist, and you had to go out and actually have a good time with people.
Yes. Yes. And you know what, man, it's just funny to me. We were just talking about this. You're all getting ready to go on camera. And, you know, I was talking with Jesse and we were talking about how, like, I would be at the machine getting a Pepsi and you'd be waiting behind me and you'd be like, the whole time, just in your element, just dancing the whole time. Like, you didn't care what was going on. You had to know whatever routine it was. And to come, you know, 20 plus years later, be able to talk to you on the phone and then here in person, same dude. Like, as much as you've achieved, you haven't changed. And I love that. That's the one thing I love about you, Jason, for sure.
I appreciate that. You know, like, it's first of all, thank you for saying that. It's an honor to be back here with you, AV. I mean, I'm a huge fan of you as well. I mean, you were one of the reasons why I got into radio. It's funny because Albuquerque is a small market, it's a small town, but it's so big with camaraderie and culture and friendship and family. And I know I live in Miami now, but I lived in LA. I've traveled all around the world, and there's nothing like going back home and seeing the people who knew you before. Because, yeah, success is great. Yeah, I've done a lot of things, but there's nothing like talking to you or talking to Danny G or all the people back home that knew me when I was just a kid living in the North Valley, doing routines inside of the Smiths, trying to make it, having big dreams, you know, sacrificing a lot. Going to Little Anita's, getting the breakfast burrito with the last $5 that I had, you know what I mean? Going to the events. That, to me, really shaped a lot of who I am now as a successful adult. Really helped me cut my teeth and cultivate the work ethic that I have. I mean, I'm a machine when it comes to what I do, but I wouldn't have any of that if it wasn't for the people who invested in me, who stood beside me and helped me get to where I was trying to go, either in the micro or the macro. If it was just a positive word or an opportunity, I wouldn't be the Jason Carter that I am right now if it wasn't for those people. So thank you for being you in my life. Irreplaceable, man.
Wow. Thank you. That's humbling, dude. Thank you for those nice words.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of people might not remember, but with Wild 106, you know, that's where me and Danny G met. And you kind of made that transition over. So for the people tuning in that might not know who you are, why don't you let them know what you were a part of and exactly what you've been up to for the last 20 plus years?
Well, specifically with Wild 106, I'll never forget, shout out to Jammer, one of the best program directors in the business. He essentially discovered me for radio because doing Dance Dance Dance, the teen thing, we would come to Wild because Wild was our radio sponsor back from, like, I think 98 through 2002.
Right.
And, I remember one time we were doing this commercial promoting the event. Jammer busts through the door and he's like, "Hey, you want to be on the radio?" I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "Come back tonight, 3 a.m. If you suck, no one's listening." I was like, "All right, cool." That was in the fall of 1999. Mind you, I had just graduated from high school. Me and Dan actually went to high school together, graduated together. And
nice.
And I came back and he put me on overnights for 6 months.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until the summer of 2000 that he was like, "Hey, let's move you to weekends. Do you want to do weekend afternoons?" And I said, "Sure."
Yeah.
And it was at a time in music that was awesome. You had the teen pop explosion, Britney, Jessica, Christina, boy band, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, plus R&B and hip hop was unstoppable. Nelly, Ludacris. It was just incredible.
And that's what's so awesome about Y2K Dance Party is all that beautiful music is going to be in one place, right?
And it's so, you know, nostalgia, people like to call things vintage because vintage means 20 years or more, 20, right? And nostalgia, they always make that or that it's always so emblematic of a time gone past. But I feel for the kids now
Yeah.
because sure, with TikTok, they're discovering old songs that are coming back now in a different way. They're being rediscovered. They're entering the charts again because of TikTok. But there was nothing like the premiere of a new Diddy song or Ashanti or Janet or Mariah or or Nelly or Snoop. All of those people who shaped our musical tapestry, right? Our musical appetite.
You know,
The feeling you had when music used to be an event. Working in radio for us, especially,
Yes.
music was an event, right? Music videos, them coming to Sound Factory, them coming to town. Albuquerque, for it being so small, was a hotspot for a lot of artists, including local artists like South Park Mexican, Baby Bash. So being able to have lived through that, I'm so grateful. I mean, your question was that what I've been doing for the last 20 years. I left Albuquerque in 2005.
okay.
I moved to LA to become a dancer because, as you said, that's what I did. That's dancing really got me into Dance Dance Dance. It was a team thing. So I went to LA, danced for a bunch of artists, became a choreographer, did that for a good 7 years. Then I pivoted back into TV in the late aughts, 2009, and I've just been doing that ever since. And I have had an incredible career. I mean, working for Entertainment Tonight, CNN, HLN, The Young Turks, Amazon, my own show here in Miami on the CW. So I've done a lot. And you know, there's a video that surfaces on Facebook and YouTube of me, Jesse, and Shamar and Kira from 1996.
Right.
And I just remember that was the first year the show was actually on TV because Dance 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 started in '94, but it became a TV show in '96. And I remember just saying, you know, like, I want to be the next Bill Bellamy. I want to be the next MTV VJ. And now when I talk to people about my career, they're like, well, where'd you get your start? I always tell them Albuquerque, New Mexico, on the show on Fox at the beach water park. And it's really shaped who I am now as an on-camera talent. Because like I said, I've had lots of success. I've done a lot of cool things. But if it hadn't been for that one, and I'll never forget, it was on KDNR, Rhythm Driven, KDNR, Big Worm, shout out to Big Worm, who also gave me a lot of love back in the day too.
Yeah.
They were having auditions for this show.
Yeah.
And so I signed up and went to the audition, and I made it my routine in the bathroom at a community center in the South Valley.
Oh, wow.
And then I just went in there. I remember I had this long white polo, because I was poor as dirt, man. Poor kid. I had this long white Old Navy polo, Jenko jeans. I had these Nikes that said Air on the side. Remember the Nikes that had Air spelled out on the side? I had those.
But the Jenkos is what got me.
You know, the Jenkos were everything. And super comfortable, but really baggy. And I danced to Creep from TLC. Just freestyled the whole thing. Didn't hear anything for about a month, and then I get a call like, hey, we thought you were great. Do you want to come be a part of this thing? And then so the rest is history. And I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity to start my career in TV because it was in a small market like Albuquerque. But the 4 people that I got to spend and be on TV through high school and growing up have become family and some of the best friends of my life. So I'm eternally grateful. I wouldn't change a thing.
That's awesome. I love that, man. Just everything that you were saying, from the Jenko jeans to, you know, doing your routine. I would love to see that tape. That's what I would love to see, because I'm sure that they taped it so that they could watch it back to see who they wanted to be a part of it. But I would love to see that. You know what I mean?
Me too. Like over 30 years ago, man.
Right.
Like almost or close to 30 years ago. You know, like little 16-year-old Jason just going for it. But I always knew I wanted to do that. You know, people say they want to be famous. As you mature as an adult and you go through life and you go through things and you start to, you know, have the hard knocks, your vision changes, and what you want becomes a lot of other things that you want, and what you did want, you no longer want.
Right.
And I just always remembered I wanted to be famous. But now, looking back, I always was a performer. I just wanted to share my gift with the world. And I was a bullied kid. Man. I was a nerd. I was different, right? And dancing, and that was always my escape. I liken it to mutants. Mutants have a power. Magneto, the X-Men, they all have their power. Some mutants are class 5 mutants. They're more powerful. Some mutants have different ways of expressing their mutation.
Right.
And for me, my mutant power was dancing. And I always felt the most powerful when I did that. I always felt the most powerful performing. I always felt the most powerful connecting with people. And I felt like that was my ticket and my escape from some of the darkness that was in my life. My parents are great. I have a twin brother. I have a little sister. I have an older brother. My family was great, but kids can be cruel. High school was tough,
Right.
and so I prayed about it, and I just doubled down on what I wanted and knew that I had to be the best. If not, I had to be 2 times better than someone who was the
Right.
best. Because that's what I needed. That was my ticket out.
I love
And
that.
it was my ticket out.
Yeah. No, that's great, man. And you put in a lot of hard work to be where you're at, to make that transition. You were talking about how it started in '94, and I was talking to Shamar just last week about, where it actually started, and she was saying that there was 2 years before that, where it was actually a dance that happened, and it wasn't
Right.
obviously what it turned into. So were you able, and I just had this thought while I was interviewing you guys were never able to actually go and experience this whole situation, the whole dance. So for the 2 years before that, were you able to actually, did you know about what was going on with this teen dance that was happening? Did you know about it, or was it just when the
I
audition
did.
happened?
I did. So what happened was in '95, I had heard about it, and I hosted a couple of events in '95. At the end of '95, summer of '95, I went to go live with my father in New Orleans. My parents were divorced, so I went to go live with my dad for a year. Then I moved back in the spring of '96. So had I not came back from New Orleans and started my life all over again in high school at Cibola High School, and was listening to, because KDNR was my station, man, rhythm driven KDNR. I just loved it because it was so rhythmic. It played everything. It had house, it had R&B, and it was just, I felt like, sure, you had Kiss FM, which was like mainstream, but KDNR played like the Brand New Heavies, Gangstar. They just had their pulse on so many different genres of music that I was listening to.
Right.
So I had heard that there was an audition, Big Worm, shout out to Big Worm, and I just went.
Yeah.
So had I not moved back, had things not fallen apart in New Orleans and me come back to Albuquerque, I wouldn't have re-auditioned again. But it was going to be a TV show then, right?
Yeah.
As I said, '96. So '95 were just the event. So yeah, we went on Fridays. It was cool. And I thought, I could host this. I could do this. And they gave me a shot. Went away. I wasn't really in the collective then. I was just someone who happened to do it. But I came back and they remembered me. And then I auditioned and the rest is history. So I was aware, but I wasn't really indoctrinated into like what they were doing until I actually got the job. And they had the motto, something in my eye. They had the motto, it's cool to be clean. And I'm sure Shamar talked about that too. And I really believe that.
Yeah.
And it's interesting maybe because I did this all through high school, my most formative years, right? Where you're supposed to go out and do all the things that teenagers do. But I thought, no, I was always a goody-goody anyways.
Yeah.
So I thought, great,
I was gonna
me
say,
double down.
don't act like you missed something, Jay, because it was like you're pretty straight laced even at the radio station. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was. I think that, but AB, I was straight laced because I knew the sacrifice I had to make.
Right.
We growing up in the early 2000s and the 90s, especially being men of color, right? Latino, Black, we didn't have a lot of great examples of success.
Right.
We had a lot of examples of what success doesn't look like.
Right.
You were always told you were going to end up in a gang, drugs, jail, if you were gay, AIDS. There was all these things and all these narratives thrown at you that were just so dire and so depressing and so bleak that you didn't have a lot of examples of what's allegedly right look like.
Right.
So when you're young, you're impressionable and you attach yourselves to what people you look up to, or you don't know any better, so you take what's being fed.
Right.
You don't question the givens.
Right.
And so I thought, okay, I could either become a statistic or I can sacrifice, focus, and get to where I want to go. And Dance, and That's Cool to Clean model really helped me do that.
That's cool. So
looking back now, it was a blessing.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. That was a time in Albuquerque that was just so unique. I've said this before on the other interviews. We won't be able to have that that little time capsule of what happened. And hopefully something does come up where, you know, the kids are able to express themselves and have that freedom in what you were and the others, you know, all of you were able to do with what was given. And so it was just beautiful, man. So that's exactly why we ended up calling you guys, getting you guys on the horn, and pretty much flying you back into New Mexico, other than Shamar.
Sure.
All three of you are coming back, and we're ready for this. Back to the beach. It's happening on the actual location where the entrance was for the beach water park is now called Revel Entertainment. So it's just like, you know, when they say certain things happen and align in a certain way, for Revel to be right there where the beach water park was, and for Danny G to have made this dumb post that he thought was just going to be a funny joke, and people were like, dude, I would go to that. And, you know, me and Dan looked at each other and said, you know what, dude, let's do this. Let's make some calls. Called all you guys up, and Back to the Beach is happening April 6th. It's a Y2K dance party. We're inviting you guys to get your tickets now at revelabq.com. But Jason, thank you so much for putting your life on hold for this weekend and coming down back home and being a part of this, dude. It's so awesome. You don't even know, dude. You don't even know.
No. First of all, thank you and Dan and just everyone in Albuquerque for keeping this legacy alive. There's a picture that circulates on Facebook of me, Kira, Shamar, Jesse, and Dana when we did a tour in 2000. I'll never forget. It was taken at Los Lunas Middle School, and that picture gets like 10,000 likes. And I've had some people who I've known through high school who say, I wish my son and my daughter had Dance Dance Dance, because that magic and what that meant for that generation.
Right.
And as you just said so beautifully, you can't recreate that. There will never be another one of one, legends only, you know, and how it's impacted and touched people's lives in so many different ways. I know what it meant to me and what it did for my life, but even for you, being able to go, you're working and doing a remote there, but yeah, you still got sprinkled in that magic, right? You still remember, it still touched you. It's still a part of your tapestry.
Right.
And shout out to the county, shout out to Yvette Griego for envisioning this and saying, hey, let's give these kids someplace fun to go. And I'm sure she even didn't know the magnitude of what it would be and how big it would be and how even the last Dance 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 was 2003. We're 20 years later from the last official one, right? How even now still, in this moment, talking to you, I am transported back to Friday nights, the air, the feeling, getting ready to perform, doing the live remote, all the things that were such blessings in my life that I knew back then, but I didn't even know how much of a blessing they were until I got older. So it's cool. I'm not missing out on my life or doing anything to come do this. It's actually, I'm grateful to you guys for giving me the honor and the opportunity to come back and do this. So thank you. Don't thank me. Thank yourselves.
Awesome, man. Well, I can't wait for it. I get to see you here. I'm going to give you a noogie to mess with your hair because I know how much you hate that.
You so remember. You know that's my thing.
Jason, thank you so much for checking in, man. We will see you April 6th here in Albuquerque. Of course, we are going all the way back to the beach, and it's happening at Revel Entertainment. Get your tickets at revelabq.com. Jason, you have a great time, and we'll see you in less than a month. It's going to happen.
Less than a month. I'm counting down the seconds, brother. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Let's throw it back, have a good time, and make some new memories. AB, you're the best. Thank you, man.
Thank you, brother.